today. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Rachel. I'm part of the lead team here at Way. And you have heard us say a few times on stage this morning, we have been in our talk and from the Bible, we've been talking about water from the rock. It is a story in the Old Testament, Exodus 17, where Moses is leading the people of God and everybody is thirsty. Like they're absolutely 99.9% parched, right? They are so thirsty and they need God to do something. So God asked Moses to get his staff and strike the rock and water will come from it. And guess what happened? Water came out. And so that's been a bit of the story that we've been looking at and unpacking. And at Way, something we love to do on the back of series like this or talks, we love to hear from some people in Way. Because who knows, like, I'm sure you guys never get sick of my voice, right? Or Ben's, or Siobhan's, right? Never. But we love to hear from some of you guys on actually what is God doing in your life at the minute. And so today, I have the privilege, and you have the privilege, of hearing from a wonderful couple who are a part of our community. Some will know them, some won't. You'll get to know them today. And we're going to be chatting a little bit with them about how have they seen water come from the rocks in their lives, and just a bit of their faith journey, their story of the last few years. Is that all right? Amazing. So without further ado, if you would give it up for Kate and Jake Gallagher. They're going to come sit down. Looking absolutely fly today, might I say. Guys, you two can sit down. I had a pair of Vans on when I arrived to the Edge, and then I was like, I've changed my shoes. Because when I saw them, I was like, I am showing these two up with my muddy pair of Vans on this morning. It's so good to have you both here.
Thanks.
It's good to be here.
Good. So, because obviously I've just introduced you both, Kate and Jake, but just tell us a little bit about who you are, just for context.
So I'm Kate. Hi, everyone. I've been coming to church for a couple of years. I'm a part-time nurse, part-time dog trainer.
Say that again.
Part-time nurse, part-time dog trainer.
So if you need a dog that needs training, this is your girl.
Yeah.
Or if you've hurt yourself, you maght see her at hospital, who knows?
I'm off duty, sorry.
Oh.
Strict policy.
Okay.
So I'm Jake, obviously Kate's husband. We met, funny enough, we met in church 20 years ago, 19 years ago? Something like that. We were actually kids at Way Youth. 220, back in the 220
Which
days.
is the old name for Way Youth.
The OG.
It's the OG, yeah. It's the OG.
Yeah, and you know, we were a part of church back then, back in TCC days, and you know, we used to serve. Did you serve?
Yeah, I was
I
on
served.
stage.
She was a worship team, this one.
We were like,
Did you
we were a big part. I was the B. Anybody? Was everybody twinkles in uni? I was the B.
Okay, we're just going to pause a minute. Okay, you're just thinking I was the beat.
Yeah, so
90% of the room are sat here thinking, what on earth? Jake, just give us a headline.
So the kids, back then, it wasn't Explorers and all that, it was Twinkles and Unique. Oh my God, I'm going really into the depths here. So yeah, we had Twinkles and Unique, and the mascot was a giant bee. That was me. That was me.
The man under the mask.
I did other things as well, but that was me. Yeah, and so we were like what I felt was like a real part of the church community back then, and for whatever reason we grew distant. We left, through no fault of anyone's. We just we ventured away, and probably about 2 years ago now, maybe just under 2 years ago, we sort of made our way back, and here we are 2 years down the line.
It's amazing. And can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah,
What, like, in that period, because like you said, that was like 20 years ago. Feeling my own age here now.
Oh, I'm still 19. I don't feel anything.
What's been both of your faith journeys like in that period of time?
I've often said, whilst I was away from church, I weren't away from God. But actually now, although I still prayed and had a relationship with God, it wasn't a deep faith. It wasn't a lifestyle. It was, very much God's like an option, not a priority in my life then, because we didn't have the support and the community of the church, really.
It was very much back of the mind, wasn't it? It was like life came first, and it was, you know, something that possibly like popped into your head every now and again. It wasn't a way of life. We didn't do that. I'd like completely do it days, weeks, months, even where I didn't even think about it. I'd like almost like lost my way or become somebody else. Whereas you did pray, and you know, it was always in mind, wasn't it?
It's always been. I was brought up in church, all right, not this one, but I've always had what I would consider a strong faith, been on pilgrimage, worked in hospitals in France, and, you know, in God's name with the church. So it was never really an option for me for God not to be in my life, but since coming back, I can't actually believe how much church is my family, my community.
It's like a part of who we are, isn't it?
Like it is the forefront of our
marriage as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just being part of this. Yeah.
So what led you to actually decide to come back here?
So a couple of years ago, I got quite seriously ill. I was admitted to hospital and diagnosed with MS, which is really difficult for me to say, multiple sclerosis. I struggle to even say it. And our eldest daughter, Emily, really struggled with the diagnosis and reached out to Jake's mum, her nan, and Nana, not allowed to say nan, she's glaring at me, Nana, and asked could she come to church. And so we just got FOMO. Like, we were like, really, like, wait, you going to church? All right, fine then, right? And then I was like, well, do you want to go? Do you want to go? Yeah, I want to go. Well, I want to go as well. And we just came along. And what a journey it's been. Like, I think the first year of coming back's just been getting used to who we are again, very different to who we thought we were. And then the second year has just been a stronger, deeper faith. Yeah. It's all been about faith. Yeah.
So I'd like I said, my journey through our absence from church has been, you know, quite different to Kate. I'd completely forgot like who I was, who I am.
Just being a wife. Put it near so they can hear.
Oh, sorry,
you.
I have to hold it like an ice cream. I've been told. I speak with my hands. So my journey during our absence was very different to Kate's, but and I always acknowledged that she did pray in the evening, and you know, God was a part of her life, but it just wasn't at the forefront of mine. And now that we're back and on reflection of, you know, what was my life during our absence, it was only recently that you sort of like start to analyze things and break it down and think, what was that? And I realized that even though I was unfaithful to God, God always remained faithful to me. And he was working in my life when I didn't even acknowledge it, I didn't even realize it, and he just paved a path that led us back here, didn't he?
And obviously you've both been around like through the last few weeks. We've been talking about water coming from the rock. I would just love to hear a bit of both of your experiences and journey of what has that looked like practically for you both, in whatever way it's helpful for you to tell it.
So I've actually brought our rock. Now, we felt bad because in the first series it was, you know, what is your rock? And we were praying.
We struggled with that, didn't we?
We struggled. We was like, okay, God, what's the rock? What is it? Imagining this really big rock with this really big word that needs breaking. And there wasn't something huge and significant. I mean, it is still significant. But what we actually found was we had smaller rocks. So, like, for instance, doubt and fear. And now I would never say I doubt God, but then when we looked at it, like, how can we explain that doubt thing? We said we still believe, but there's doubt, like if you're in challenges maybe, that you're not as faithful. So my rock, actually at the top of it, I don't know if you can see, says doubt and fear at the top and the crossed out. And for us, it weren't more focusing on the rock, it was focusing on the water. And what's written then is all the water. So obedience, faithfulness, joy, blessings, prayer, Bible, serving, community, strong marriage, love, peace, comfort. I could go on and on and on. The water came in abundance.
From such a small, from what we felt like such a small rock, the water that has come from it has been amazing. We feel like completely different people through acknowledging the rocks that we've broken and the water that has come from it. If that makes sense. And I think perspective is a big thing. I was thinking about this the other day. So what might be a big rock to one person is a small rock to me, and what might be a big rock to me is a small rock to somebody else, and that's okay. It still takes the same amount of, the same faith to step out, break that rock, and acknowledge the water that comes from it. I get that. Right, I'm going to quote. It's not the best. It's not the most profound sort of like quote of all time, right? Because I'm quoting Evan Almighty, right? But bear with me. So there's a quote in there when Morgan Freeman, God bless him, says, if you pray for courage, do you think God gives you courage or opportunity to be courageous? And like that stuck with us. I don't know why I always go back to that. God performs miracles. I do genuinely believe that, but what is the miracle in your life? Does he literally, do I pray for food and a plate of food appears? No, he presents the opportunity to go and put food on your table. He presents opportunity to go and earn finance. He gives opportunity to speak to people. So as Kate mentioned, on our rock was fear. And I've never been ashamed of who I am. I've never been ashamed of coming to church, but I did fear the challenge of the conversation to have with other people. And it's through this series, I think this series has led me to joining the Bible course, which shout out to Andy. I'm absolutely loving it. It's led me down this path of, recognizing what the rocks and having the courage to step out and break them. And one of them is speaking openly and honestly and having that conversation with people. So in my job, so I work in the coffee industry. I install coffee machines, and part of that is demonstrating, their use. And through that job and serving here at Postcode, I think I'm getting pretty savvy. I'm getting pretty good at the latte art and all that kind of thing. I'm all right.
It's very nice.
And so, I perform those demonstrations to customers, and customers will ask, "Oh, do you practice a lot?" He's like, "How cool is that? You must practice all the time." And without shame, without fear, I can openly, honestly say, well, a lot of my practice I do is as I'm, 1 in 3, I volunteer at the coffee shop at church that I go to on a Sunday, and that just flows out now. Yeah. And I think the story of Moses, breaking the rock. Yes, Moses walked in faith, but imagine walking out in front of all those people and just being like, oh God, I hope this rock breaks. See the human side of Moses. It must have been like, putting a human defense up, sort of really felt like I was stepping out in faith. Well, I did that. I felt like I put defenses up. I was scared. I didn't trust that God would be my defense, or God would provide me with the words that I need to say. And then it turns out that once I did break that rock, that there was nothing to fear. It was only positive things that ever came from it. I don't know why I was ever so worried about it. It's just something that happens naturally now.
Yeah, and that's in breaking some of that doubt and fear, isn't it, that you've written on your rock as well. Yeah, I love that. Kate, what about you? How's this kind of, the last few weeks, but I think just the last year of you, how have things played out in terms of saying no to fear and doubt and yes to some of the other things that you believe God has got beyond kind of these rocks, if that makes sense?
So I got baptized in, I think it was October, and I'd prayed for obedience and a closer, better relationship with God and faith. And we were talking about this the other day. So, like, if you look at October versus now, so in October, was I praying as much as I am now? No. Was I reading my Bible like I am now? Thank you for the Bible course as well. No. Were we tithing? No. You know, and it's not all happened at once,
Yeah, right.
but it has been like a release, and especially the water from the rock of breaking down that fear, doubt, and just replacing it with all those gorgeous things. You know, we're so privileged, aren't we? Blessed, like honoured. And it's like Jake said, it changes your heart.
Yeah.
I feel like it's changed our heart.
Yeah.
We, just for instance, tithing. We didn't tithe through fear of lack. When we first got together, we were really young. We had babies really young. We had nothing, you know, financial, material, and it's that fear of lack. And even though we're okay now, it's a huge.
I think it's because we have the experience of living with nothing.
With nothing.
We don't want to go back to that,
Yeah.
as if tithing would put us back there. As ridiculous
Yeah.
as that sound, it's human fear that we have, isn't it?
And we prayed over it and we tithed. And what changed our mindset was, Jake said, what God can do with that money is so much more than what we would do with that money. and honestly, that was it. And I was like, do you know what? And then the first month that we tithed, we were sat here and there was a video like there was today, a Way Foundation. And we're really passionate about Way Foundation. And I turned and I looked at Jake and the smile on his face.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, are you okay? And he said, we helped with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, you know.
Yeah.
And but for me, it's just looked like a better faith. Yeah.
But so, I only realised that like the actual time scale of this, right? I'm talking to you like I've never even said these words to Kate. So the 2 years that just under 2 years we were here. So I've been in my job now for a year, and then I did the other job for 6 months. So literally coming to church was kick-started this whole sort of like journey that we're at now. The job that I'm in now, I cut my salary in half to go and do that job because life was too stressful. There was obviously Kate's illness, there was work responsibilities, there was everything, and a big loss was the finance that came with it. And then to think that I've already lost 50% of my wage, to give another 10% of it away was just incomprehensible.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. There's no way we can live if I just continue to just keep giving money away. But
You can
we
definitely
get
do
so
more than
much more from God than just money. The money it's so low on the priority list now. What we're passionate about is the other things in life.
Community, prayer.
The community, God being center of it, time that we have, time to spend together as a family, time that you get to spend doing the things that we enjoy, that brings joy in your life. It's like, it's weird to try and think how I thought then.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a completely different person now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. And then lastly, I know that went so quick. Lastly, though, I would love to know just any of your closing thoughts. So anything that maybe you think, I was going to say that, you've not given me time to say it. But also, just from the Wash from the Rock series, what's kind of like one thing that stood out to you, one thing that you've learned that you've been like, I'm taking that forwards with me now?
That the water is always so much bigger than the rock. If you have that faith and that belief that whatever it is will break, the water, the faithfulness of God that comes from it is so much bigger than anything. So the last panel that we did was Black History Month, and Ema said, he's greater than it all. And I was like, yeah, he's greater than it all. I've heard that, like 35 I am. And I've heard that all through my faith. But why on that day was it those few words that were so strong and so clear And it's not always God speaking to you in this big booming voice of, of telling you something. Yeah. It's in those moments of conversation or reading where something goes, like hits you in the chest. And it was, God is greater than it all, than all of it, than all your worry, your fear. It's not for you to carry. Those rocks aren't for you to break. You're not breaking it. We take a lot of, you're speaking over it. You're speaking God over something and it'll break. And the water that comes from it is so much bigger than the rock.
I love that perspective as well, Kate.
That's great.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. Jake, what about you? Is there one particular thing, or is it just like...
There is. So I think I'm going to stick with the fear, the word fear. Thanks to the journey that I'm on through the rock breaking that's led me to joining the Bible course, and because I'm like such a Bible reader guy now, I'm still only in Old Testament, so bear with me. I've just recently read the story of David and Goliath.
Right. And
one bit that stood out is when the Israelites dressed David in the armor, they equipped him with a sword, they really prepared him for a big battle. And David was like, "No, this isn't me, I can't do this," and stripped everything off. And said, "God will be my armor." And we do that in the battles that we face, whether it be anxiety, whether it be your lack of confidence. You do have that fear, whether it's fear of speaking about your faith or fear of stepping out in whatever it may be. God's armor is way greater than anything that we can do to protect ourselves. God will protect us. And in my case, like I said, it turns out the battle that I was prepared for didn't even come anyway.
Right.
And it may be the same for you guys. So that's something that really sticks out for me.
Yeah, well, thank you both so much for sharing just even a little headline of your story. I know it's so much bigger than just what we could hear today, but I would love it if we could pray now for Kate and Jake. I think it's so important. If you guys want to stand, if you're able to stand and you're in here, if you just want to stand, and we're just going to have a minute to pray for them, thank them for their story. I know for both of you what you've shared today as well, it's powerful. I was reading before I got up on stage before, in the Old Testament, I mean, you'll know this now, guys, obviously from doing the Bible course. Shameless plugs there. I don't know if you're being paid, but come on. Revelation is the final book of the Bible, and at the end, it's kind of a complicated book. But
don't ruin the end for me.
No, okay, I won't ruin the end. I won't totally ruin the end. It ends well. It says this, that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, that's Jesus' blood, and the power of our testimony or our story. Our stories are powerful, and your story is powerful. So on behalf of Way, I want to thank you as well for sharing just even a small part of the last few weeks. And so I'm going to pray over these two and their beautiful girls as well. And if you want to join me, and then, she's just having a minute to wave to them there. And then we're just going to pray together at the end. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. God, we thank you so much for Kate and Jake and this family. God, I thank you for the journey they've been on. God, I thank you that you have never left them. Your word says that you will never leave us or forsake us. God, I thank you for the water now that is flowing through them. God, I pray that you would continue to show them your faithfulness, show them your goodness. God, as Jake said earlier, even in spite of our faithlessness sometimes, you're always faithful. God, but I pray that you would help them lean in as a family with their girls also to trust you, just to keep taking those small steps of obedience towards you, God, that their heart would be transformed again by your goodness, by your mercy, and by your love, God. And I pray that the stories that come from these two would go even further and be even greater, God, than they ever could ask, think, or imagine, God. And we ask it all in your name. Amen. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for today.